Hello, my loves. Welcome to this beautiful, important, powerful talk about the power of your menstrual cycle. I feel like this is a vital conversation, and I could talk about this over and over again because it's just so required, so needed in our lives. For those who don't know me or watching the replay, I am Jessica Angelari. I'm a feminine embodiment and intimacy coach. And really knowing and becoming aware of my menstrual cycle honestly has changed my mind. So if you are here joining me live, or if you are watching the replay, let me know what in the comments. What is your relationship with your menstrual cycle, or what is your relationship with your bleeding time? Whatever that you feel called to share, do share with us so we can witness you in this talk today. We have been programmed in our society to feel a lot of shame around our menstrual cycle. But we can use our cycle awareness to create a sense of power and opportunity. It's a game changer. To know about your cyclical nature will just shift your life and how you move through life. And I believe that menstrual cycle awareness is really a missing key in empowerment, in feminine empowerment and creativity. It's a missing key in feminine spaces. And just like with everything else I talk about, everything just moves together. We can't speak about one aspect of feminine empowerment if we haven't included these other themes, such as the menstrual cycle. And it's such an intimate and a core aspect of how women relate to their bodies and then their power. And there's a common narrative that we hold internally that our body is something that, or we in general, is something that we need to fix, or our period is some messy affair and it's taboo and we shouldn't talk much about it. Even I never hear women speak about the clear liquid that we release during ovulation. We don't speak about these things. We don't speak about the color of our blood. And that's why spaces, safe spaces, are so needed for us. So cyclical awareness can change the world, I believe, because I believe it's a medicine that the world needs, because it shows that women are living in their own leadership and in their power. And when a woman is in her power, she creates ripple effects in her family, in her relationships, in the communities around her. So it's about, yes, it's about self-care and being empowered and having knowledge about what's happening in the body, but I believe it's bigger than that. It can, being attuned to your cycle can bring you back to your true nature. It brings you back to your lineage, the why you are here, the very nature of your existence. But we have been living in a society and culture that values production above all else. We've all felt the effects of this. This system sees us, sees our bodies as like this, production. It's for production. It's better and more convenient to not bleed. Having a period where you need to bleed, where your body is less outward, that's not convenient, because it's not productive and manageable in the world that we live in, which is why a lot of us have needed to, or felt like we have to, take a pill. So as I'm speaking, and if you're joining me, please do let me know when something does land with you and you feel something in your body as I speak about this. So your menstrual cycle awareness encourages you to view your body as something that is organic and changing. It gives you a feminine perspective that mirrors Mother Nature, and that doesn't support this high achieving, go, 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 overproduction. The better you move faster, the better you are. That doesn't support us. They want consistency for you, which goes completely against our nature, which is how nature is, wild. And this is how we then feel disconnected from our own soul, who relies on the movement and flow and changing. Your wild woman relies on being able to dance and cry and laugh and be in sadness and feel everything and be consistent in that. Consistent in the way that you honor your inner shifts, your rhythm, and you listen. I like the idea of being in a rhythm rather than in a routine. And yeah, we cannot be consistent in confining ourselves to linear rules, but we can feel consistent and in thrival and at ease when we are attuned to our inner fire and our creativity. And to be consistent doesn't mean being the same every day. It means acknowledging and knowing yourself so deeply through your cycles. So our monthly cycle is very powerful, and it impacts the way that we feel from one day to the next. I think that's very liberating to know that you will be different tomorrow, you were different yesterday, we are always changing. And we know and understand that, so we tend to only think of our menstrual cycle as the bleeding phase. But what about the rest of the 21 to 25 days? What about? We have heightened strengths during every phase of our cycle, during like different parts of our cycle. We have more energy at certain times, less energy in other times, but we don't know this, and we're not living according to our own unique rhythm. And knowing how to make use of these strengths, because the truth is we have felt a lot of shame around this from the moment that we hit puberty, and we have very little information about it as we developed into womanhood. For myself, I come from a lineage where the period, let's say, was very very painful and not something that we ever talked about. There was a lot of shame in my household, and I was in a household of 4 women. And to me, that just seemed like the perfect opportunity for all of us to come together and cherish one another at that time. And because we were in such resonance with what was happening, and because we were so in sync as well. But it didn't work like that. We were in hiding. We felt like it was disgraceful or shameful. And so for years, I carried this idea that the period was mostly a non-event, really, or was gross, or I would go about my day, and as soon as I could, I would go on the pill. I just didn't see the point of bleeding. It was annoying. So whenever I talk about this, I'm not coming in any means with judgment or anything, because I've been there as well. I stopped taking the pill when I was, I think, 26. And I started when I was 18 or 19. And as soon as I got off the pill, I just remember feeling this sense of release. And there was a real awakening in my creativity, my sensuality, my intuition. I felt like myself, and I hadn't felt like myself, although I didn't know who I was. And so I saw impacts in my relationships when my cycle started to flourish. And so the world around me did as well. I felt like me again for the first time. And this was mind-blowing. And yeah, the way that I related to people was different. The way I was creating was different. I found myself to be less irritable, less frustrated. So I think we still have a lot of shame collectively. We're trying to hide our period, or we go by our day pushing harder than ever, moving through the pain as well, or we try and force ourselves, and rather than retreating and resting when we need to. And we're even facing things from the external when we do slow down, or when we do say no. We want to rest and take more than one day to rest. There's a lot of shame around and guilt around that as well. And we're called crazy, and we're called different things, or we're PMSing, and it's just nonsense. And I myself have been called woo-woo because I talk about this, and this is just such a necessity in all of our lives. By not embracing and honoring that you are in fact cyclical and change day to day is, I believe, taking a step back in evolution. It's the opposite to feminine empowerment, as feminine empowerment is embracing your cyclical nature rather than bypassing and seeing this as a weakness in order to fit into society's expectations, or continuing to move forward, pushing, as this makes us seem more powerful. We try to keep up, and we try to perform, and we try to achieve, and it's just exhausting us. But I'm here to remind you that when you do embrace your menstrual cycle, your bleeding time, you acknowledge all the shifts that you go through in one moment, and you allow yourself to be soft and not feel guilt around resting and retreating, and you embrace all of your emotions, and you stop being so hard on yourself, this is when you step into your power. This is everything. This is such a rite of passage. There's nothing more powerful than really taking ownership of your unique cycle. And it invites you to be connected with your own medicine as well, because this is when you also stop seeking the answers outside of yourself. You begin to trust yourself. You feel into this wisdom, you energize, and you come into closer connection with that wisdom. It becomes louder. So we can understand our moon cycles as our moon cycles, our menstrual cycle in relation to the moon. And for a lot of us women, not all, and it changes all the time as well. For me, it does anyway. We menstruate either around the full moon or the new moon. Again, there's no rule in this, but from what and it changes all the time as well. But this is how we relate to our cycles as the moon cycles. This is why, as we too have created synchronicities and connections to the natural cycles of nature and the moon, we're all connected. And it reminds us as well of how we as women are connected. I think that's powerful right there. So we all understand one another. And just as the moon waxes, so she grows outward into the night sky until it becomes full and then wanes or gets smaller, as if moving back into herself, we do the same thing. And sometimes she shows up fully, she's open, she's bright, she's reaching out, she's full embodied, and other times she's covered and she retreats and she's quiet and dark. And we too are like this. This is how we are connected to her, and I find that so beautiful. So what happens during the new moon is exactly what our bodies invites us to do when we bleed, to hide and internalize. The full moon that corresponds to the time of ovulation. This is the time when we're at peak of ourselves, feeling energetic and social. So as you can see, we move through different ways, and very different to the ways that men operate. We're always shifting, and just like the moon, we can learn from her. We can really be basked by her beauty and radiance and really learn from her. And so you will never be the same in one day. And we're always moving through different phases over our 25, or let's say, I'm going to say 23 to 30 days, because we are all different. So just briefly, I will go through the different phases. So you have your menstrual phase, and that's when your period arrives. And this is a process of release and deep relaxation. And within hours of starting your period, your levels of the hormone estrogen slowly begins to rise. And that's when you start to feel the heaviness. And we're very powerful during this time, during our bleeding time. Our ability to feel and sense is increased. So the best thing to do during this time, especially on the first day, is to rest and meditate and journal and just be with yourself and reflect. And start to be attuned to what you hear, the wisdom that moves through you. And when you start to do this and you learn how to rest in these times and you give yourself permission to do that, you'll begin to realize as well how your energy and your emotions shift with each cycle. So then you have your follicular phase. So that's after your period ends. And this is your phase when you're full of vitality and your energy levels increase. So does your libido as well. So your libido is not always going to be at an increase level. That's something else we have to understand. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you if you're not feeling turned on all the time. And your energy is directed outwards. So you're feeling very social. You might be feeling more innovative. You want to create new ideas. You're physically active as well. So you have a lot of masculine energy moving through you. And this is when you do want to act in more predictable, linear ways. And you might even want to push yourself a little bit more, push yourself in. You'll feel like you have more energy to work harder, in your workouts or at the gym or whatever. And your sexual experiences will be different as well. It will feel more physical, more outward and masculine, has like a masculine energy behind it. So then you have your ovulatory phase, so ovulation, that refers to the release of the tiny egg from one of your two ovaries. And they alternate from one cycle to the next as well. And this typically happens between 14 to 16, the days 14 and 16 of your cycle. So around 2 weeks, right? and you're feeling the most, again, this all depends on your unique cycle. We're all different. Yeah, and you're feeling this during this time, full of fresh ideas. You're full of life. You have that beautiful color in your face. Your lips are more plump. And you're ready to receive, like ready to receive a mate. I think that's amazing how nature has done this for us. This is how we magnetize our mates, our possible match, because you are the most magnetic in this time with your energy, with your color, with your radiance. And that just shows that as well, the way we feel on the outside and the inside, it shifts all the time. And I notice this as well, actually. I come on live a lot, and I notice when I am, I tend to plan. I plan my business. I plan my, like if I'm a guest somewhere, I tend to do it when I am ovulating or when I am in my follicular phase. Obviously, it doesn't work out all the time like that. And if I do need to show up live on the time before my menstruation, which is what I'm about to talk about now, the luteal phase, I notice my face, the color is a little bit different. I feel a little bit more puffy. It's interesting. I see myself a lot. I can tell when I watch replays as well of myself. I'm like, oh, I notice myself here. I know I'm where where I was in my cycle here. I find it really interesting. So yes, you have your luteal phase, and that's the final days before you begin your menstruation. You slowly start to feel the effects of decreasing of estrogen and increasing progesterone as well. And this is the way we're reminded to move much slower. And we are connecting deeper with our nurturing energy, our yin energy. This is a time of softness and surrender. It's a very feminine energy. The inward energy, it feels heavy, but it's also very potent energy. It's very like you're vibrant and alive and receptive like the earth. So remember, to be soft and receptive does not mean weak or passive. It's very nourishing and delicious. And making love as well in this way, in this time, is very enriching as well, because you're more soft and gentle and inward, and it just feels so sensual. So as you come closer to your bleeding time, yeah, you want to be more quiet and retreat, and it's so important for us to do that. So my invitation is to become aware of what kind of energy we draw ourselves into at different times of our cycle. And it's also a very intuitive time. So it's a beautiful time to receive your answers. And then we start this cycle again. So what happens if we deny this natural slowing down and the need to turn inward? Well, we begin to feel frustrated. We build up this resentment or anger. And then we label this as PMS. And it's because we haven't given ourselves permission to slow down and let the body, allow your womb, allow your yoni to do what they need to do. So we need to invite that slowness to connect. So as you can see, it's important to note how much we shift, how our energy levels will differ. that we want to be touched differently. We want to move through our days differently. As a woman, when you embrace your softness and embrace your bleeding time, you become your own wisdom keeper. You understand how to savor your feminine energy. You understand what it means to surrender. You understand what it means to live in integrity, and how to set boundaries and know your desires, how to reset, how to recharge, how to tap into your creative wisdom and inspirations, and how to know when your body is speaking to you, and to understand the different signals. This is an ancient knowing that you all have within you. And you also realize that you feel more empowered in relationships as you understand, when you tune into your cycles, you understand how to set those boundaries and communicate with your partner that this is happening right now. And you have clarity, because you have clarity around it. And you directly communicate, this is what I need from you. And you show him this different way. You show him that the beauty and the power of you moving through your own inner world, your own rhythm, and allow him to be there to support you in that. This power that you have, this ability to tune into your energies and emotions, and coming into that, in direct contact with that through maturity and non-judgment, this is needed. And this is how we can communicate as well to men in our life. A mature man will want to be there for you and support you in your own monthly rhythm and evolution. But you need to know yourself so deeply. And when you do, you present the opportunity for him to step up in his own ability to move through his healthy expressions and ability to be there for you. So yeah, when you're moving into these different phases and you feel the changes in your body, and you know how to acknowledge the different energies, and when you make space as well for rest and replenishment in each day, when you start being a bit more gentle with yourself for not having it all together all the time, you begin to shift in life. Life shifts around you. You begin to soften into your womanhood, as well as you take leadership of the way you desire to move through your life, whether it's in business, in relationships. You open to love and learn how to grow, and you heal the ancestral lineage as well. And when you do this, you also empower other women to also do the same. So to also know that she has a power to speak her truth as well, and that she doesn't have to live this overachieving, overproductive life constantly. And now remember, in a world, we're told that we need to move through life and on the go and move harder and pick yourself up, go faster, keep up with all the work, do all the work. And with that, we just feel, oh, this is where we go down the spiral of self-doubt, or I'm not good enough, or we stop trusting ourselves. So the acceptance of really going into the body can be terrifying as well, because it requires some shifts to what we're used to what we know. But It's the most empowering path you can take. And it takes a lot of courage, because it means going against everything that we've been told to do. And it's not easy sometimes, but let me tell you, there's nothing to be afraid of or ashamed of. And whether or not you believe this, your bleeding time is your biggest blessing. It's your gift to heal what has not been attended to. It's where you're able to listen to the whispers of your intuition, of your soul. She's always speaking to you, and she carries your blood, carries so many unique, ancient codes of your soul. And we have this magical ability to let go and begin constantly every month. This is magical. This is a gift. So let's stop denying ourselves from this gift. We're in this together. It's time that we take leadership in this now. And let's do it for the men around us, for other women as well, who haven't had the opportunity to even know about this work. Let's do this for our daughters, so we know how to support and guide them. You know how to do this. So it's up to us to move forward with grace and knowledge on this topic. And you don't have to do it alone. You can join me. In Feminine Remembrance in week 2, we do dive into all of the 4 phases of your cycle. We rewrite your period story, so it doesn't matter if you are bleeding or not still. This is a beautiful feminine ritual with the support of Mother Earth, where we can shift our story and take on a new version or a new way of relating to our bodies and our rhythms and our inner phases and cycles. So then we can begin to live with power and softness together. And this is how we truly come home. This is how we come home to ourselves. This is powerful, deep, beautiful healing work. So if that resonates with you, the doors are open. We begin Feminine Remembrance, Come Home to Yourself next week on the 20th of March. I'd love to have you there. Let me know if that feels good for you. Otherwise, I hope that this conversation landed with you. And let me know what comes up for you. And my invitation for you is just to be gentle with yourself. Give yourself the rest. Give yourself the gentleness and grace that you require. And you're not alone. I'm here if you need anything, any other questions, I'm here for you. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I have so much gratitude for you. Love you, and I will leave you there. Do let me know what's really landing for you as you watch this today. So much love, my sisters. As always, so much love to you.